So it's Diet Coke today. There's no Red Bull, unfortunately. So I'll be at half pace. Now, you can tell when you know how you can tell when someone's getting ready for a presentation? Is they're really focused. I'm picking on Nuno.
Yes. Getting ready.
Nice. All right, very good. Okay. About 4 minutes after, I'll grab the meeting minutes and share with you all. Okay. Oh, very good. Okay. Jesus is on in listening mode today, so very good. Here's a link to the meeting minutes. I popped it into the chat. Oh, a couple of things. One, I tend not to mention this every time, but just I think it's obvious for all of you who've been here more than once, is that this is our weekly community call on Fridays. These calls are recorded. We post them to the YouTube channel, of which has been going on for quite so many months, and so let me know if you need something edited later, but otherwise consider that it's a public meeting and all are welcome to join. And so on that, let me bring up the meeting minutes. So I'm really encouraged that we've got the folks that are attending today, and today's the 19th of December, so today's the 20th of December, of which all three of my kids would readily tell you there is less than 5 days left until the massive frenzy that happens around our Christmas tree. So, gift wrapping will fly. Eggnog will be drunk. Yeah. My wife will be disappointed yet again about what I actually got her for Christmas. The reassuring thing is that I consistently disappoint her in that regard, so there's no surprises for her there. Okay, good. All right, good. The folks are getting comfortable and taking notes along the way. This is great. All right, let's get kicked off. So we've got a couple of general announcements up front. Those that might have something to demo or an issue that they want to bring up and troubleshoot, or a roadmap they want to talk about, or any topics that you want to talk about, just drop them in here and we'll go over them. So we're going to have at least 2 demos today. So Garish will demo a new authentication scheme. Is that the right word? A new authentication set of functionality. Okay, of a couple of general announcements. Yesterday, I think I've mentioned in our call a couple of times that there's a CNCF SIG network, a special interest group focused on all things network related, so traffic and so traffic and networking, and as such it governs, if you will, or stewards existing CNCF projects that fall into that bucket. So things like gRPC, Linkerd, Network Service Mesh, Core DNS, and other things that escape me at the Envoy. And so we were having one of the first meetings yesterday. In that meeting, Meshery was mentioned, so I'll pull it up here. Feel free to peruse the notes. Meshery was mentioned, as I discussed, I think with each of you, probably individually before, that it's our intention to bring Meshery into the CNCF, into the sandbox there. And we, thanks to, in no small part, thanks to Jesus actually for getting us across the line, getting the project across the line in terms of the number of stars on the repo. He took us, climbed us higher than at any other point. So if you can't tell, this is where Jesus made his mark. So the biggest single day jump. It was pretty awesome, and that got us past the 100 star point. And so that's one of probably the last criteria that we really needed to get to in order to prep the project for review inside the CNCF. And so it's this CNCF SIG network is the most appropriate forum for doing a presentation and showing that. And so as we prep for it, I'm gonna call on a few of you. D-Raj, you're probably one of those that I would call on to come and participate and say a few words as we present Meshery to more or less to the CNCF. It's good to have, in part, D-Raj, I call you out because of your corporate affiliation, because of your role as a maintainer of an entire adapter, and there are a number of the rest of you that I will call on as well. Speaking of calling on each of you, so switching topics a little bit, and by the way, before I switch topics, just any comment on the CNCF sandbox, the SIG network, questions or comments on that? And Jesus, if you do have any, I'll be checking the chat, or someone can call them out on your behalf too. So, okay, good. Well, hopefully it's full steam ahead toward the CNCF sandbox. So good. Actually, the CNCF sandbox requirements are changing a little bit. There's a vote going through this week to up the requirements from 2 supporting technical oversight committee members to 3 in order for a project to come through. Meshery faces no issue in that regard. We are supported by all of them on the board, so no issue there. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of new seats that have been added to the CNCF Technical Oversight Committee, the CNCF TOC, the TOC. I've been fortunate enough for my part, to be nominated last go round to be on the TOC, and missed it by a couple of people, which was, again, flattering that people had put in a vote there. And so as they open up a couple more seats, I think I'll go for one of those seats again. So anyway, moving on to the next topic, the new community slides there's a new template that we just really fresh, just worked on it a little bit this morning, but it's out there in the Meshery community drive for any of you to take and use, and in any of the presentations where you might be touching on Meshery. It has a couple of filler slides that talk about things that Meshery does and is into. There's really a kind of a standard Meshery presentation deck that you're all welcome to take and use. But what the purpose of this template was really more about getting a number of just quickly, easily formatted slides that you can use if you're creating other content. So just to help facilitate, I know some of you are going off and doing some presentations, so that's just out there in the drive, the community drive you should all have access to. It's worth mentioning that in addition to that resource, it was just this last time that we met, I had said out on layer 5, a new resource was recently published as well, and that's layer 5io/brand. you'll find, and the brand is just that you can download assets, including bookmarks. There's some notepads as well. That you can print out the bookmarks or the notepads. You can find a complete kit of logos and assets that you can use as you're often doing things. I'll be sending around to any of you that are interested in some social graphics, to the extent that on Twitter or LinkedIn or what have you, if you want to find it convenient to tag or affiliate yourself there, you're more than encouraged to. And for some of you, it's been fantastic to see that some of you have also affiliated yourselves on LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, Raghav was our latest contributor to do so. So that's fantastic. But you're welcome to affiliate yourself here to the extent that you do. Again, there'll be kind of a background that you could choose to use if you want, like this. So anyway, just pointing out some resources for folks in case you're interested. Okay, those were the general announcements. There was another one I had mentioned that we'll be sending out a couple of books and some buttons and some other items to many of you, particularly those of which we have your address on file. So I think we do for most of you, and so I don't think that things will arrive before Christmas, but tis the season for things to arrive in the mail. So in a couple of weeks, be checking your post boxes. Okay, those are the general announcements. I don't know that we had any other general announcements. I'll be thinking through them, but with that, I think first at bat, Nuno, if you're ready, or Garish, maybe if Nuno needs some time.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry.
I can.
I'm muted. All right. No, as Girish wants, I'm ready right now.
No, good. Yeah, please take it away.
All right. So I'll try to make this one really fast, just to explain quickly what has been done and actually why layers or layer 5 is so great as a name for me, because it was all about it this week. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen.
We got it.
All right, good. Okay, so what I will just showcase right now, it's just the work of this week about how to run yet another Kubernetes cluster, and this time was its kind. It has been quite the most difficult to understand, actually, and I will explain why. First of all, I'm running on Windows as usual. You know me by now. Here I'm running the settings. I'm running Docker Desktop for Windows, the Edge version. I have the WSL2 backend or engine running, and I mapped it to, or I connected it to Ubuntu. Also Penguin, but this one is on Ubuntu that I will make the demo. Here, just to show again why, it's because the point of WSL is really to bring you can work either on WSL, so Linux-based user space, or on Windows in PowerShell. So the PowerShell, that's what I'm trying to help all the time with the team in Meshery. But when I do these demos, I prefer to go into WSL itself. With that being said, I do have my kubeconfig set up directly to my Windows kubeconfig, again, for a matter of interoperability, sorry. So, where do we stand? I will quickly launch it. So I have installed the latest version of Kind, and Kind actually will get my kubeconfig file, and will, here you can see that only the Docker desktop of kubeconfig is there. Where can I? Okay, okay. Whoa, sorry. So as you can see, this file has just one context for the time being, my kubeconfig file, right? It's on Unix kubeconfig. So let's start actually the kind. I will create right now oh yeah, let me show you first maybe the config that I will be using. It's the default config that you can see in Kind websites, actually. The only thing that I did right now, and that's what I explained to, or we had a discussion with Lee, but I won't showcase everything today. I just showcase the solution, but I will make a blog post about how to get to this solution, actually. So here I'm setting my IP API server address to the Docker 0 network that is created when we run Docker. Okay, so there's the interface Docker 0 and there's the default address. So I just set it here because I will need it from Windows actually to get to Meshery, the cluster. Okay. So now I can finally create the cluster with the config of. So now, while it's doing that, I will just show you another part. It will just take maybe 1 minute. It's quite fast. It's faster than yesterday that I was showing to Lee that it was really bad. So here, the only thing it's quite important, but the thing that I had to do, again, I had to put the subnets on the Windows side, visible from the Windows side, from the WSL VM IP or base IP. If I go to another window here, if I do just the next, that's the routes, you can see that my default route is actually, if I now go to another one, sorry for that, but ADP config, and okay, it will give it a lot, but that's not what I want. I want the here. Okay, it's sorry, not this one. It's here. It's my internet for WSL. Okay. Right. So Kind has been launched. So if I do now a kubectl cluster info, and let me just copy it directly. I can run it on both either WSL or Windows. So now we have like our base. So we have our cluster running, and of course, because it's Kind, so if I do just a Docker PS, I can see that it's running the control plane and it mapped the ports of the config file. Sorry, there's the white on white is not so great, but we have like the 480, the port 443, and what we cannot really see here, let me just pass here. What we see here is like, here is our address of our cluster right now. Okay. Finally, if I go again to the config, see, refreshed, and now I do have my IP and ports of my context for Kind, the Kubernetes cluster. Good enough. So now let me just quickly run that. I will clear it. Oops. Clear it. And now I want to launch Meshery CTL. So I copied or I downloaded it yesterday. So I do have the version. So it's the build from yesterday actually. And yeah, I can get the version. We still have this log info, but that's okay. And now if I do the Meshery start, it will start then, yeah, forget DOM for now. It will create containers, and I'm doing it from, again, and opening the browser, more importantly. And here we go. So I do have my Meshery that is running also on containers, all right? So if I do a Docker PS again, I have more. So before I just had the kinds, and now I have kind, and by default the connectors to the different service meshes, and of course our own Meshery running. Okay, so now if we go here, you can see that we don't have anything at Kubernetes level. Okay, so what I will do, move this here, I will go to the config, and I will pick my file. Okay, again, that contains now the kind cluster. And here we can have finally the cluster running. And I say finally because to just get to this point, again, I lost almost a week. Might be like normal for others, but for me it was just like a mess, seriously. Last but not least, I'll just pick one that works fine. Management stuff. Oh, okay. Why? Should work normally. Okay. Oh, okay. I want figure D. Didn't appear yesterday, so kind of weird why now it's doing, like I could see it directly. That's weird. But anyway, let's go to linker D, and of course, if I go now back here, if I run get let's say pods, you can see that linker D is getting ready, and it will start in I think it takes about 3 minutes, I think, something like that. And that's it most likely. So as you can see, I don't know how much time actually I put 25. I go up 12, 25, okay, 10 minutes. 10 minutes with explanations and everything, and we could get like a first service mesh getting readied, and we will wait. Again, just one point, because here it will say like, remember, like linkerd is deployed. Yes, it's deployed, but for me it's not, let's say fully true. Or I don't know if we need to maybe use another terminology, but here we can see that the pods are still initializing. And that's it.
No, yeah, no, I think that's the right terminology. Yeah, no, good. So, before I chime in, I want to make sure others get a chance to ask questions here. Did everyone grok the multiple layers of virtualization happening here?
Hey, this is wonderful. Now, the reason why I'm saying wonderful is of course, like, you've done a wonderful job. Now, the other thing is it is actually opening us doors, because one of the things, like, we have always wanted to get to eventually is actually the ability to test, things in Kubernetes, like, in our CI. And, so people have always mentioned that they use kind in all those situations.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, But I think the only difference would be that they might not have to actually go through the pain you went through, because they'll be running their test from a container while kind is going to be running in the next one. So so that way the networking might have been a little bit easier than what you actually went through because of the
Hmm.
multi-layer things there. But yeah, I mean, like, so the general thing, point I'm trying to make is that this is wonderful, like, for us,
Hmm.
in order to venture into, using kind more liberally in our workflows in future. So this is fantastic.
Great, thank you. And yeah, definitively, again, and I'm playing a lot. I mean, there's a kind for Windows directly. So I guess that's because I am putting always this kind of constraint to myself, like to be doing something from WSL directly and to understand like the interop of between both worlds, like Windows and the WSL Linux world. And what I said to Lee is like, yeah, it's really like the name Layer 5. And for me, I told him like I read it like layers. That was it. It's like kind is using my default Docker, okay, my default network bridge. And then Meshery, of course, creates its own bridge. And that's why I didn't understand at the very beginning is like I was running correctly kind and I was running Meshery, right? The two applications were running on their own containers. And then when I tried to, let's say, bridge now the Kubernetes cluster with Meshery, then that's what was really, let's say, going off. Like I could not ping it. Actually, that was funny because okay, I showed you early yesterday, but I was doing it a lot, like clicking here, and then we have like this big red sentence stating that okay, no, we cannot ping the cluster, and I'm like, yes, I can do it, and actually that's what I wrote on Slack. Why? What is the ping or the way that you are looking at? Because when I was in even Windows, right, if I was doing my kubectl cluster info, right, I could get to the cluster. So I seriously, it took me like some bit of time just to understand like all these pieces. And but you're totally right. It's for others if they go directly to Windows or if they go directly to Linux. Well, most potentially it will be the case. I think they will just have to install kind and use it. But the principle remains, I guess. So it's working.
Awesome, awesome, dude. This is wonderful. Now this actually makes a wonderful candidate for you to actually write something up and put
Yeah.
it on our site. I'm pretty sure like nobody would have spoken to you about it, but yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
never. I didn't even mention because I don't know. I don't know what he's doing.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
Who else? Who else? Like got lost in the layers of virtualization. Um, for my part, a visual really helps comprehend just yeah the VMs that are running. The WSL unto its own is slightly confusing how Windows gets meshed with Linux.
Hmm.
And then yeah, you've got multiple yeah, yeah, multiple Docker instances, multiple Docker networks. Yeah, I guess they used to say it was turtle is all the way down, just this like continued inception. Actually, so kind to me really feels similar to what was done to operate play with Kubernetes or to operate play with Docker, those websites.
Okay. Yeah.
Which many have found really useful. As a matter of fact, as Docker goes forth in their new journey to refocus, on developers, they'll be enhancing playwithdocker.com a
Hmm.
fair bit. And so, anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just stop sharing.
The nice thing about this exercise as well, Nuno, is that the focus of Meshery, the technology area, is oriented towards virtual, towards networking, towards service meshes. And so this exercise is enlightening, I think, both to you and then to others that will read the post about, well, just about Docker networking, actually, for one, and then host-based networking and how the two interact, which is part of their path toward understanding service mesh networking, and so.
Yeah, it was like, if it was that complicated, kind of, right, to understand just at the installation part, like when you get to the service mesh phase, then it's like, okay,
Yeah,
it's a good learning. That's what I said. Like, it was really a good learning at the end of the day.
And this is it's a good reinforcer, I think, for anyone who's on the call and watched what Nuno had done, that if within there it wasn't entirely clear how the virtual networks were speaking to each other and where traffic was actually being routed and flowing, then to Nuno's point about when people run a service mesh and they're running it in production and messing up the network or making a change to the network, applying a new configuration change to the service mesh, that's really unnerving, and I think that's one of the areas where ultimately Meshery can assist. That there's a fair bit of Meshery roadmap that we generally don't spend much time talking about, mostly because at the stage where the community is at, most of us are still early in our journey, and so talking about some of the future capabilities of Meshery isn't. Anyway, I was talking with a couple of contributors this week. I think over the break we'll go ahead and outline a high-level roadmap so that people have an understanding of what that vision is, even though most of us quite aren't there yet. But one of those areas of functionality is likely to be a visual topology, is likely to help people understand what's going on with their meshes, with the traffic. So this is awesome. This is great. Between your blog post and Rafi Unger's, we will see which contributor makes the first splash, I guess. So good.
All right. Thank you.
Any other feedback for Nuno as we move on? Nice. So Garish, are you up?
I am, but I would say let's give the ball to Dheeraj
Oh,
because he has a functional CPX demo.
nice.
The last time he actually showed one which was really close, but the last bit was the one which was giving him a lot of trouble. I think he was able to knock it out. So let's give him the ball. I'm really curious to see that, Dheeraj.
Awesome. And you can tell that Garish spent some time working at Cisco and using WebEx every day because he talks about the ball. Give him the ball.
Yeah, Dheeraj, are you ready? Oh man, you put him to sleep. That's bad, dude.
I think he's probably having trouble with the mic.
I know that I did all the exercise without a Word file, and that's what keep the people really motivated about the demos. Sorry about that.
There you go.
And Dheeraj, I think you are off of mute, but I don't know that we can hear your voice. No, we can't hear you. Not yet, or not me anyway. No.
Nope.
What's another trick here? Let's see. Yeah, if Diraj, if you go to the chat bar, or rather on your bottom bar on the right hand side, there's the ellipse, the three vertical buttons, or three vertical, settings, and there might be a microphone, something you could do.
Hello.
There you are.
Okay, great. Finally. So, can you guys see my screen?
Oh, we can. Nice.
Okay. Yeah. So, what I have done is like I have first, as you can, I have this Meshery and Meshery CPX adapter. They are actually running on my Kubernetes cluster, and so as I explained in one of the earlier calls, this CPX service mesh, it is based on this Istio only, and we actually bring couple of our own resources on top of the Istio system. So right now there is nothing installed on this one, like neither Istio, neither any resources in this Citrus system namespace. So I have logged on this particular. I'm going to the browser on that Ubuntu machine. Last time I actually demonstrated using the out of cluster deployment, and that time I could get the gateway up and running, but I was facing issue with the sidecar injector. So that one is actually has been fixed thanks to Girish for his suggestion. And then I was facing issue to bring this particular service mesh up in the in-cluster configuration. So what I will do today is that I will directly use the in-cluster configuration and we'll try to bring this CPX service mesh up. So you can see that it is right now already in-cluster configuration there. There are some logs. This will be the log for this one. Let me just go. Right now I'm actually having this mesh.
Ooh.
And adapter.
Oh yeah.
We'll try to just okay, so things are actually happening here. We'll directly see what is the state.
Wow, the CPX adapter.
Okay, so first thing, last time I had issues generating this certificate. So we actually run sidecar injector service, which will be responsible to inject the Citrix ADC CPX as a sidecar in the application pod. And oh, sorry, 1 second.
Oh, sure.
And sorry for that. I had a one call.
No. Hey, it's only Friday night. I mean, it's not.
No, actually, I'm hitting the road in couple of hours. So
oh, wow.
maybe that is why actually yeah. So I had this sidecar injector service. Oh, just a second.
Sure.
Yeah.
No. Do your thing. I don't.
Yeah. Hello. आता ही मी मीटिंग मध्ये कॉल करतो तुला. ओके, मी कॉल करतो मीटिंग मध्ये. Yeah. Sorry guys.
Oh, good. No. That makes me feel so much better. I usually we're on these calls.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yep. We can. D-Rush, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to actually
say.
Yes,
I can hear you. Nice.
Oh, good. I have to say, actually, I'm just super encouraged because we've been on weekly, Friday evening calls for a number of months now, and finally, at least one of you has girls, female, women calling, on Friday nights. So this is just, I'm very happy to see some of us have social lives. So I will live vicariously through you.
Oh.
Good.
Don't worry, she was my sister actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Well. Okay.
She's actually there in US itself, and she's planning to visit India next weekend. So probably that's why she's calling.
Sure. Sure, it's the holidays. Okay. Yeah, Garish, you're headed
Yeah,
back too, right?
Yeah, I'm heading back home tomorrow.
Yeah. So speaking of, just really briefly, Garish, is anybody in this same town that you're going to be visiting?
No, I'm going to Chennai, so that's like in southern India. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's nobody from South India here.
actually, I'm from Bangalore. You can probably just
Nice.
couple
That's
of
not
hours.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Fine. So going back to our the demo part. So I had issues last time about creating these certificates because the Meshery CPX container, I was like facing some challenges in like creating certificate and getting it approved because I needed self-signed certificate so that the communication between the Cube API server and this webhook service, right, it can be proper, appropriate. So because and so then after that actually I got OpenSSL and kubectl as part of my container, which I might be having somewhere in my Docker file. So I just got kubectl and this OpenSSL is part of my container, and after that actually I could get this thing up and running.
Okay.
So now let me see. So you can see that okay, this particular thing has been deployed when we ran our we did the install, and I do have this ingress gateway, basically Citrix ADC acting as ingress gateway, and the sidecar injector resource also, it's up and running.
Nice.
And this is being done from as of now in the in-cluster configuration, which I showed earlier. I was facing issue in the in-cluster configuration, and again Girish helped me out in that. So the issue was I was not able to get this what I say that I mean I was not getting the configuration like in the out of cluster deployment, right? We upload the configuration kubeconfig, but the in-cluster config in cluster deployment, I was not able to get the kube configuration. So then Girish suggested me, like he in fact gave me this one script. I actually used this script, and I was able to get the configuration on my local Meshery CPS container.
Yeah.
However, after that also I was like facing one issue which was like related to our service account didn't have proper permissions. This is like one thing I wanted to bring to your notice in today's call, that with the default permissions, right, for the Meshery service account, whatever it was there, I was not able to get the things working in a way. So these were the default permissions, and with this cluster role, the things were like not, I mean, permission issues are coming. So I like just tried to give it cluster admin kind of permissions, and after that it just worked like a charm. So this was like one change I had to do in the service account for this particular thing to work appropriately.
That's a very good note. Do you happen to know which specific APIs or which specific resources that were
No, so interestingly, I was not able to even create a namespace. So very basic one also, like, so, and I tried to do a couple of like things here and there, but because of probably since I was working at night, I wanted to take a quick route. So I just tried to give it the cluster admin resources, and things just worked fine. So that was like I wanted to see whether things are in a way going fine or not. I'm pretty sure that okay, we can actually have a cluster role which will be like obviously not the cluster admin, but some changes and things can work fine there. So that is one thing. And yeah, one more, like one hiccup I usually face is that right now what you have seen is that I'm actually logging into the same browser where the cluster is actually running, I mean on the same machine. If I actually try to access it from my laptop, I usually face an issue where I'm able to ping the cluster, like from the remote machine, like for let's say from my MacBook, but I am not able to ping the adapter from that machine, from like let's say my laptop. So this is like another one niggle generally I face, but obviously it is not kind of a blocker or anything. So.
And when you say ping from your laptop, do you mean literally using ICMP, or do you mean when you?
No, not ICMP. From like in Meshery. So like I'll be like running containers. I will be running these Docker containers on my MacBook, and so I can obviously go to this local host, and I mean local host that 9081. We can actually go to the Meshery UI, Meshery GUI, and from there, if I actually upload the out of cluster configuration, I can ping the Kubernetes cluster. But if I actually try to ping any adapter, which is also running as container on the same machine,
right,
I'm not able to do that thing.
Which is
so
also,
this is not only related to CPS, it is like any other adapter. So.
And in that case, those adapters are also running in cluster, right?
And those adapters are running on my laptop. Those are also running. So this was like one thing I wanted to know, whether all the like adapter containers and should also be running on the same machine, or they need to be run on the Kubernetes cluster.
Technically, they can be anywhere.
So that's what I meant, because essentially it just needs that URL kind of thing, right? IP address and the port should be able to ping. So, but yeah. So as I said, right, it was not a blocker for me. I could get it working by running it on my Kubernetes cluster and accessing from there. So that's it from my side. So it's essentially now I can get my CPX service mesh up and can get it deployed from our Meshery. And I think that was like the main thing we had to get it.
God, this is amazing. This is fantastic. Yeah, definitely we moved right from alpha stage to beta stage.
So actually now these changes are right now in my my branch. I mean my private this repository. I will generate a pull request for the same, and so we can then probably go forward.
Oh wow! I should have thought of this earlier. There's so Diraj, you're in Bangalore. There's a Kubernetes forum, a Kubernetes days. I think coming up. I think there's two of them. I thought one was Bangalore, but the point being is that just gets me thinking about helping you get the word out about your work. We'll have to get you presenting this somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Plant that seed in the back of your head. Let's come back and we'll find a venue. So a couple of questions. Actually, it sounds like we've probably got two issues that we would want to potentially document. So one of them being the issue that you're facing around being able to ping adapters based on their various locations. The second issue is with respect to the RBAC that you mentioned, the permissions that the default Meshery service account has. Right now, it would be ideal if we could hone in, if we can avoid full-blown, cluster admin where if we can identify the specific resources. That's
yes, that's correct.
I think the other thing that I have is maybe more of a question, and it was so I understand that one of the items that you and Grish worked on was the script to help generate. I don't know. Was it to help generate a new? Oh, say it again.
It helps to generate the kubeconfig file, right?
Okay.
It helps to generate a kubeconfig file.
When you're running in cluster.
Yeah. So
yes, that's in cluster.
In the default case, when Meshery provides the adapters a kubeconfig file to work with, so that was helping Dheeraj because he was able to get the entire file. He was writing it to the file system right before getting his stuff to work. But in the case with the in-cluster config, the default Meshery adapters flow is that it doesn't have a kubeconfig to work with. So, and since we're using the client Go library, we don't need a handle of it. Like, we were just leveraging the client Go's capabilities to kind of absorb the in-cluster one. But Dheeraj did have a use case where, he actually needed it. So what I tried to do is, I tried to help him put together a script which will, kind of pull the token, pull the CAssert and the namespace, and then construct the kubeconfig file, which can then be used in his flows in order to, successfully get whatever he wanted to do. So that's the kind of the thing I helped him with the other day. So once he had those things, he was kind of on his way to actually get things to completion.
Okay. And then I thought that then the other issue that you faced, Dheeraj, was with respect to the CPX sidecar injector. So that's a capability that
Yes.
that's Citrix, that the solution that you guys have created that you already have, but in this case, there was a distinct challenge around the certificates that were being generated. I mean, is this challenge distinct
Yes.
and unique to Meshery and the way in which we're provisioning?
So here my challenge was that I needed this self-sign certificate actually. From the, Cube API server should actually sign it. So basically, I wanted to do this kubectl approve CSR kind of stuff to work.
Okay.
Uh,
I see.
So one of the things the CPX team had done, which actually Dheeraj had pointed me to it, is that they already have a script which will help with all this. So me and Dheeraj discussed asynchronously, and we kind of decided. I kind of give him a tip that it's better he runs that exact same script, and the reason for that is if the team makes changes, we will benefit from it rather than we trying to write something on our own. So that's exactly what he's doing. But for doing that, he needs a kubeconfig file because it's running kubectl commands, which is kind of the reason we have to do all those jumps to get the kubeconfig file for the cluster config. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Man, I'm super excited about this, Dheeraj. Does anyone else have questions or comments about the CPX adapter? Dheeraj, and as people are thinking of those, in your estimation, so you leveraged the Meshery Istio adapter as your foundation.
yes, that's good.
Which is fantastic because the other aspects, that's the most advanced adapter, I would say. And so it has things like the ability to vet your configuration. Have you been able to try that piece of functionality?
So I didn't explicitly try that one, but I remember while coding it, I once got this in Visual Studio Code, right? You get this some warnings and all those things, like a goal int and all those things this way. So I remember it gave me one. It flagged one particular issue from the web. So though I didn't explicitly try it out, but I hope that it was working fine in a way. Because it did flag me one issue with respect to the configuration.
Right. Okay. Oh, did it flag that in Visual Studio Code or in the Meshery UI?
In Visual Studio Code, I guess it was.
Okay.
Yeah, or not in this one.
Yeah. Actually, I guess
in Visual Studio Code actually like yeah, this one. If you guys can see it, it's something like that.
Okay.
So like this, it was it flagged me something.
So one quick thing to do, actually, if you still have the environment up, if you've got that Meshery UI up.
Hello?
Yeah. So one quick test you could do, if you still have the Meshery deployed, the CPX adapter deployed, in the Meshery UI,
yes,
you could navigate to that area in the UI, and I think it's the lower left-hand side, you have the ability to validate your configuration. Yeah, that one.
or this one.
Yeah, let's see what it does. It goes out and runs. It checks for about 9 or so different environmental and configuration things, and looks like man, that's fantastic. Looks like you've got that as well. These are just kind of commonplace issues that people will run into when they're running Istio, and so it just checks to make sure that. Awesome. Okay. We may move from beta to stable briskly as well.
Thanks for that comment. I will soon generate a PR. I wanted to generate today itself, but I have been like little bit busy. I have been doing some packing and all the stuff here. So yeah.
Oh sure. Are you?
But once actually. Yeah, but once actually I'm stable, right? Once I get hold of my laptop, I'll be on vacation, but still, once I get hold of my laptop and just probably some time, I will generate a request on maybe in a couple of days.
Nice. I'll make for a happy new year. That'll be good. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for this, Dheeraj.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I will stop presenting now because I want to see now Girish, what does Girish have there.
Girish, you've got 1 minute. Make it. You know what, Girish, to help. So moving quite along. That was awesome from Dheeraj. Girish, let me intro what you're about to do very briefly. 30 seconds. Folks can see this slide deck, hopefully. Very simple slide, which I can't get on the screen. All right. Anyway, I think my machine's getting locked up. Anyway, the point is, all of you have known Meshery with the experience of it asking you to authenticate. When you go to establish a session with Meshery, it asks you to authenticate, and that's clearly intentionally we're having the project do that. There's about 3 different reasons why we're doing that. Those are documented in our docs. I won't take you through all of them, but the primary one was to be able to collect the performance test results that people are running, so that we can then share with the rest of the world the general performance and characteristics of various service meshes. As we move Meshery, as the Istio team looks to take Meshery and include it as part of their continuous integration, and as the Linkerd team looks to do the same thing, we need for Meshery to be able to be driven in a headless mode, meaning if Meshery is requiring mouse clicks to authenticate each time that Meshery is used, then that's a hindrance to using Meshery as part of a CI system and scheduling performance test jobs. And so of some work that was done here recently, so given the time that we have, we may talk more about this probably the next time that we meet, but of the work that was done here that Girish will show is that is more or less providing the user a choice of either authenticating as they do today through the social interface using Meshery Cloud as an auth provider, or to not use a provider at all. The caveats of not using a provider at all is that much of the experience that people have inside of Meshery will be somewhat ephemeral in nature, meaning they'll run a performance test and the persistence of the test and the persistence of various user preferences that they may have made, the configuration that they might have done, the cube config they might have loaded up, the Grafana boards and the Prometheus connection and those things, those configurations and those preferences are persisted permanently through a provider, and depending upon what underlying persistence layer that provider is using. Or if you're not using a provider, there isn't a permanent area to persist those configurations and preferences. So if you're not using authentication, that configuration, those preferences, those results for now, they will live and die with that instance of Meshery. So with that, Girish, maybe you can show that in action.
All right. Guys, I know it's already time, so I'm just going to try to run as quickly as possible. So the first thing is, people have actually seen Meshery this exact way, where once you actually have Meshery running, and then if you go to the port in a browser, you are redirected to a login page, and then you log in, ask for authorization. Once you're in, it actually takes you in. So this is the normal flow people have been used to. Of course, we have actually changed the structure of the code quite a bit in order to accommodate the changes that are shown here. But from a user experience, at the moment, there is not much. For example, if you go to the results page, you should be able to see the results. I don't have anything running on the local, which is the reason why I didn't see any. But right now, this is exactly the same experience everybody is going through now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually log out, and then I'm going to do something quick in the back end. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to show anything. I'm just trying to actually build the other experience, which is what Lee actually mentioned, which is that people should be able to use Meshery without the need for going through this flow, which I just showed. It's going to take another 30 seconds for me to bring that up. I'm sorry.
So I'll say this, that the flow that again we're referring to is this authentication provider flow, where if you don't want to sign in, if you don't want to create a session with Meshery, then with the next release of Meshery, which will happen later today, we'll need to get some documentation around it, but essentially in your environment variables, in your Docker file, or I'm sorry, not your Docker file, but your Docker, the Meshery config. The Meshery config is stored under your user folder in a file called meshery.yaml. It's a Docker compose file. Within that Docker compose file, you would just add a new environment variable, basically no auth equals true, saying that you want to deploy Meshery with no authentication required.
So I have Meshery now running in that exact mode, which Lee just described. So now when I go to Meshery, you can see it didn't ask me for any authentication, it just let me right in. And you will actually notice that on the right top, there is no association with the user. So this is actually the other mode, which Lee was just mentioning, so that people can actually use Meshery without having to, go through our social auth. But then, we'll have the capability to use the system for the most part the way they were. The only thing is, the benefits of authentication, it gives us more control, for kind of helping you keep your preferences, keep your settings, Prometheus, Grafana, etc., which to some extent will be lost in this other mode, because since it's not associated with the user, so there will be some compromises that will be made. So essentially that's the highlight, so from the user experience, there's a very tiny difference, but in the back end, we have actually changed the code in order to accommodate for future changes as well. So that's my quick demo. I know we are already 6 minutes past time, so I'm not going to talk much about it. Like Lee said, we'll make a release, and we want you guys to hopefully give it a try and give us your feedback. That'd be wonderful.
Comments or questions on that? So in the, since we're over time, just in the meeting minutes, I'll paste in a link to the Meshery architecture deck, which all of you have seen before, and it's inside of the community Google Drive. There's just an additional slide in there that it's the one that I was just showing. It needs to be updated slightly, but it begins to show the fact that users now have a choice between authenticating or not authenticating. For each of you, our hope is that you should still continue. The default for now will still be to continue to require authentication so that you can continue to share the performance test results, so that you continue to have a good user experience where you log in and you don't have to go and reset up the system every time. You don't have to go re-identify your adapters, re-upload your kube config, set your default load generator, etc. The thing that was driving that headless mode or that no authentication mode was the need for the service mesh teams to be able to drive Meshery in a headless way. Okay. Anybody have comments, questions, thoughts? Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, the year of the dragon, the year of the chicken, I'm not sure, something. So good. Okay. Well, with that, we'll end. We're gonna go get loud on the social channel, D-Raj. So watch out. That was a great demo, man. That was fantastic. I'm not sure if we've had an adapter created with so little overhead. With someone creating so much of it onto their own. That was fantastic. There's one other thing that I should address very quickly, and that is our next meeting. So today's the 20th of December. Our next meeting would be, I can't do simple math in my head apparently, so the 27th of December. It's on. I'll be here. We will be hosting it. Hopefully Garish will be here as well, TBD. If so, Garish will suffer like everyone else by spending his late Friday night in India. Yeah. Okay, but Nuno won't be here. But that doesn't mean that the pressure is off about his blog post. So. Oh, and then so Shubham, great point. So many of you also attend a Wednesday developer call, a weekly call that we have on Wednesdays. That all of you are welcome to attend. But the great point, that lands on Christmas. We'll send out a cancellation notice for that one because I'll be drunk on eggnog at the time. Nice. All right, Merry Christmas all. We'll see you guys before the end of the year. See you soon. Bye all. See you.
Yes.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye bye.
Good holidays.
Bye soon.
Bye guys.